Now that we've talked about residual hauntings, let's get into more of the complicated type of haunting that houses multiple different types of hauntings. This is the intelligent haunting. And the reason why I start to speak about housing different types of hauntings is because through an intelligent haunting, depending on what they start to do, how they act towards the living, is going to determine the direction that that haunting will take. Now, an intelligent haunting is a result of a deceased spirit not crossing over, but having the ability to interact with the living. They are powerful enough to interact with the living in that area that they are stuck in. They have the ability to manipulate the environment around them, and they can adapt as well. That's what makes them different from a residual haunting. And as I was saying a little bit earlier, these are the types of hauntings that become an umbrella. And the reason why I say that is they can go in quite a few different routes as far as their intentions, as far as things that they can do to the living, and depending on how they act as time passes is going to determine what they start to change into and what they attract. Now, say this person that died was more of a, aggressive, brutal, very malicious person when they were alive. That type of energy is going to remain within them. And you can best believe if they feel like you don't belong on their property or in their house, because an intelligent haunting does not know it's dead, which is why it's a haunting in the first place. They don't know they're dead, so they can't cross over. And they might not know they're dead because they have some type of unfinished business. They might feel like they needed to deliver some last messages, some last words. They might feel like they needed to connect with someone that they didn't get connect to. So they stay here and get stuck. And these are the type of energies that, need to be pretty much crossed over, which is what a lot of us end up having to do for these particular type of hauntings, depending on how evil they get in their intent. Now, these type of hauntings can attract demons themselves into the area because of how aligned to more dark intentions they might have been when they were alive, or how aligned to dark intent they were, or they are now that they're deceased and haunting an area. Especially if they're getting physical with people or harming people or causing, emotional distress in people, arising suicidal tendencies and making people feel depression and making them feel dread. These types of hauntings are those that are going to attract something like that. Now, if there's a demon that starts to attach themselves to this specific area and start calling it their home or claiming the territory, that intelligent haunting is going to start to change because of who exactly it is that is there now. Just by them interacting with that energy or being around it, they will start to change. Especially if it's more of an energy that's connected to being that of a psychopomp, or more of the, more of the energies that are connected to necromancy. If they're connected to necromancy and there's an intelligent haunting, they have the ability to take complete control of that spirit and make that spirit act as a pawn on their behalf. So they can feed through that spirit on the living if they so wish to. They can make this spirit do whatever they want it to the living. Say that spirit hasn't had any time with the living or hasn't connected with anyone at all, right? That intelligent spirit is going to completely lose its mind because it's no longer communicating with any humans or the realm of the living. So they forget who they are. They completely lose all memory of what they did when they were alive. And they still have the ability to adapt, but they're going to adapt more on that prey drive and attacking and feeding and bringing harm and the more malicious side of the dead. Now, with them being a pawn to a demon, their abilities can start to change as a result, depending on what it is that's being pushed into this particular dead spirit. In these type of hauntings, you'll have an abundance of all sorts of different things because of the dark energy. You might even get a psychological thought form that starts to take place because of the fact that there's a person that's being harassed so much by the spirits that reside in this area that died there. And it starts to take form and become a fucking poltergeist. And then now things are moving all over the place because of the amount of emotion from this person that is just seeping out. You see what I mean? All of this activity starts and things start to just go completely crazy. Electronics can be manipulated, the TV can be manipulated, toilets, the sink, anything that can be turned on and off, moved around, shifted, that is in the physical realm with the living can be affected by the spirits and by demons if they choose to reside in this area as well. But that will be referred to as poltergeist activity. That's the lights exploding out of nowhere, or lights getting weakened, or the TV just going completely blank when someone walks past it, or when a spirit walks past it, or the TV turning on in the middle of the night, or the stove, or the oven, or the microwave turning on, random electronics turning on, or a toy, just turning on, or like those creepy ballerina wind-up boxes. Those things, those are the types of things that are manipulated the most by energies like this, because, well, what other reason? They want to scare the living. They likely are wanting to scare the living out of the area if they're not too insane, right? Because if they're insane, they're just going to attack you and want to fucking kill you or eat you or take whatever from whatever sanity you have. Because they don't know any better. They don't know who they are anymore. That's when they have not had contact with humans at all. Then you have those that are an intelligent haunting, and they're more aligned to the energies of wanting to just get people out of their personal space, wanting to get people out of their home because they lived there when they were alive. And because they don't realize they're dead, they still think that they live in the home. So they carry on with everything that they're doing in the home. But here comes little Danny moving in. And Danny's claiming this as his home. Moving everything around, moving the furniture. The piano's not where it's supposed to be anymore. Going into the basement, moving everything out of there. Especially if you're throwing their shit away and they had strong attachment to it. If they're attached to that area and you're moving their shit around and you're throwing it away and the spirit is actually residing in that home, that is one of the main reasons why you would be harassed and haunted by that spirit now. And a lot of the times these energies end up following people out of the home for that exact reason. Those are intelligent hauntings. Like I said, they adapt so they can follow someone or attach themselves to that person. People's deceased relatives end up doing things like this as well if that person has not let that person go, which is why people like myself, being a psychic medium, I always try and help people get a better understanding of, the life that their ancestors and their family members are going to be taking a part of when they pass. Because you have to understand, you need to let them go. Because if you don't, they will even if they're around you, because they're stuck here for so long, it doesn't matter if they have interaction with people, they will start to get malicious and attack people. This happens more often than people even know. This is very common in people who literally think that they're being haunted by a random spirit of the dead, when in reality it's just someone that they were mourning over for so long that spirit came back and got attached to the person and cannot leave. And as a result of them not being able to leave, they start to resent that person. They start to attack them. They start to do anything that they can do to get away from them, to cross over. And then again, you have someone like myself who's called into that scenario to cross that spirit over. Now, when they're more malicious, you have to really assert dominance over those types of energies, or you're gonna be fucked over. So when it comes down to those type of situations, you can't be too timid. It's very similar to if there's an exorcism, right? Because when there's an intelligent haunting, if they've been haunting someone for so long and that person is weak enough and that energy has adapted enough to understand that it can go into someone's body, there are often times where the spirit will do that just to experience being alive, because they don't realize that they're dead. They just want the person out. But as they get more and more aligned to those more dark feelings or the urges and intent and wanting to just take action and wreak havoc on the humans and the living, they start to take on more abilities, like being able to possess people. They transform into different types of malicious energies. They start to change into more transfigured energies and become a completely different spirit in the end. So when someone dies, especially if they become an intelligent haunting, there's a high chance that if they are going after the living, that they completely transform into something completely different. There's a high chance that if they are not in contact with the living at all and they're stuck in that area, they go completely insane. So when someone does come in, they start fucking lashing out because they don't remember who they were. They don't remember anything about themselves at all. And they don't even remember why they're even haunting that house anymore. See, those are the ones that are far removed from their own humanity. Those are the ones that are lost and forgotten. That would be referred to as the nameless, right? The nameless and forgotten. Those type of dead they don't give a fuck. They are ruthless because they are gone. There's no name for them. There's no memories for them. There's no offerings for them. There's no nothing for them. And these are the types of the dead that are very willing to work with people who are more versed in the death current, because they will get the ability to get a better understanding of things, or to just tear some shit up. Most of the time it's to tear some shit up. But if you're giving them offering and you're connecting to them and you understand how this shit works, you can form a bond with that energy, and it starts to shift as a result of you connecting with it. You see what I mean? While we're alive, we shift. We can become completely different things as a result of working with different spirits, as a result of working with different energies or studying into different things. You become skilled in these things and you become that you have been so immersed in. When you die, it's the same way, but you completely change. You completely change if you shift or you're aligned to more of a certain intent or more of a certain path, or your actions are aligned to more of a certain path. you change into that path that you are following. You shift and become specifically what it is that you have been so heavily immersed in. I'll never forget when I experienced my first intelligent haunting. This is that part that I was referring to on my previous video in the residual hauntings. When we first got to the place that they were taking me, which was the Kearney Mansion, I got a vision of one of the maids that lived on that property. And when I saw it, it was so shocking to me, because I'm still, at that time for sure, I was very skeptical. I'm a very healthy skeptic now. Like, my skepticism is very healthy. I have a very healthy amount of skepticism to debunk things and, push delusion out of the way, or, self-induced gnosis, things like that, when it comes down to things that literally are not actually happening. That's what I use my skepticism for. And testing spirits. But anyway, I have this vision of her and hadn't done any research into her, never seen her before in my life until I got onto that property. And in the vision, I kept hearing that she likes to scratch people, that she likes to harm people. She pushes people, she pulls hair, she scratches. She does all this shit to people physically. And I thought to myself, wow, isn't that an intelligent haunting? And so I get onto the property and I barely walk onto the porch. I mean, I hit the first step and I already got a scratch on my own. I already got a scratch. So the vision that I had of her scratching someone, in that span of time, she scratched me. That's what I mean. These types of energies are powerful as fuck because they understand how to actually interact with the living. Now, they may not know they're dead, but they know exactly how to interact with the living as if they were alive. And when you think about it, that's fucking eerie. Imagine someone who's dead just completely reaching out and grabbing you, touching you. Like, how would that make you feel? Because I know how that shit made me feel at that time. I was fucking shook. That's not something that you can explain. Another thing that I had experienced was when I went to the Zach Bagans Haunted Museum. I was standing by the Devil's Rocking Chair from Conjuring. And it's one of the most haunted, objects in the world. And I literally am standing there listening to the guy talk about the object, which I know a lot about Conjuring and everything. They're playing the clip where the little boy is laughing like uncontrollably because he's possessed. And at that very moment, I just feel this like tug on the back of my shirt on the left side of me. And then when I turn around, it's just pitch black and the chair is there. There's no one near me or behind me. No one could have pulled on my shirt from the left side. Everybody was on the right side of me. And I just looked around because my mom's there. My ex-girlfriend was there at the time. And the guide is over there. And then there's a few other people that stayed back because they didn't want to come close to the area. They were too scared. Yeah. That shit was crazy. I will never forget that. I felt that tug on my shirt, turn around, it just pitch black, just pure darkness. Like, that shit was crazy. But, it's a great example of an intelligent haunting. Those that can interact with the living in that way, they have an understanding on their ability to make things happen. They start to become far more adaptive than you realize. So you have to be very careful in these areas, especially if they're, if it's areas that people have not been in a long time. They're more crazy, they're going to be more aggressive, they're undisturbed. With them being undisturbed for so long, they're lost, they're gone. They will fuck you up. And they will not care. And they won't feel anything in regards to fucking you up either. And as I was saying, it goes the exact same for spirits that you hold here with emotion when they die. I know it's hard when you lose someone, but you definitely have to let them go. You have to let them be. I've seen few people on a few occasions that have come to me that have had to get spirits removed because they have had a family member that they lost and they did not let them go. And that spirit started fucking trying to attack them and find any way to leave at the expense of their own relative because they got stuck. That's what happens. So you gotta be very careful. Hope you guys are enjoying these videos. Depending on how these specific videos do, I'll go into uploading some cases of different types of hauntings. I think that'll be pretty cool.